What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today I want to revisit this NLRB of the Biden administration. For all of my gripes, the milquetoast politics, for all of my gripes about Biden as a politician, the Democratic Party as a party, for all of my gripes, the NLRB has been an inspiration. The decision that was made on Friday of last week by the NLRB, I don't think has been really grasped by the average person. And I don't think they get it because this is America and we are decades removed from the peak of unionism and labor solidarity. Many of you don't even have a real grasp of what unionism was meant to look like because you got brought up in this current corporate type unionism, which is also milquetoast and centrist, which is not what it was meant to be. So I don't think it's really landed yet just how important the NLRB decisions have been. And there have been a few that have been tremendous. So for all of my gripes, for everything that I have to view as negatively by the centrist Democrats and the milquetoast Democrats, I gotta say, this reinforces my opinion that in the general, there is no other option but to vote for the Democrat that's on the ticket in the general. There just isn't. For working people, there is no other option. One of my teachers when I was in elementary school told me, when describing the political parties, he said, Republicans are for rich people, Democrats are for working people. This was in the 80s when I went to elementary school. And that kind of stuck with me a little bit as I grew up. But really, it was reinforced with every current event news cycle. And as I read you this article, you're going to see how it's reinforced here yet again. But really and truly, if you ever needed a reason to get yourself to the polls and vote for a Democrat, these types of decisions are all the inspiration that anyone in a union, no matter what your political ideology is, anyone that's in a union, this should motivate you enough to go and vote for the Democrat in the election. I don't even care if you espouse Republican views. This alone, this is meat and potatoes. This is not culture war bullcrap. This is tangible, real benefits to working people. Tangible, not feel good bullcrap that gets spewed at you. So let's dive in. This is out of the American Prospect. Biden's NLRB brings workers' rights back from the dead. A decision last Friday makes union organizing possible again. By Harold Meyerson. Hot labor summer just became a scorcher. Last Friday, the National Labor Relations Board released its most important ruling in many decades. In a party line decision in Cemex Construction Materials Pacific, the board ruled that when a majority of a company's employees file a union affiliation card, the employer can either voluntarily recognize their union or, if not, ask the board to run a union recognition election. If in the run-up to or during the election the employer commits any unfair labor practice such as illegally firing pro-union workers, which has become routine in nearly every such election over the past 40 years, as the penalties have been negligible, the board will order the employer to recognize the union and enter forthwith into bargaining. The Cemex decision was preceded by another one a day earlier, in which the board, also along party lines, set out rules for representation elections which required them to be held promptly after the board had been asked to conduct them, curtailing employers' abilities to delay them, often indefinitely. Taken together, this 1-2 punch effectively makes union organizing possible again, after decades in which unpunished employer illegality was the most decisive factor in reducing the nation's rate of private sector unionization from roughly 35% to the bare 6% at which it stands today. In the board's press release outlining its 121-page decision, it explained, "The revised framework represents an effort to better effectuate employees' rights to bargain through their chosen representative, while acknowledging that employers have the option to invoke the statutory provision allowing them to pursue a board election. When employers pursue this option, the new standard will promote a fair election environment by more effectively disincentivizing employers from committing unfair labor practices." When these elections get petitioned for, these owners go into held captive meetings where they bash unions and tell the workers how unions are terrible for them. That's illegal. They fire the leaders of the card signing campaign that are trying to organize. That's illegal. They screw with the workers and try to press them into not accepting the union. They try to put their thumb on the scale. That's illegal, and it's been going on for many decades. It's what led to the unionization decline. One of the factors is a lot of union busting that did not go punished, other than a mere slap on the wrist. "This is a sea change, a home run for workers," said Brian Petruska, an attorney for the laborers union who authored a 2017 law review article on how to effectively restore to workers their right to collective bargaining, enshrined in the 1935 National Labor Relations Act, which was all but nullified by the act's weakening over the past half century. Taken together, Petruska added, last week's decisions recreate a system with no tolerance for employers' coercion of their employees when their employees seek their legal right to collective bargaining. Petruska's 2017 article explained how an attorney misstatement in a 1969 case before the Supreme Court, NLB versus Gissel Packing Company, led to the abandonment of a previous board ruling in the case of Joyce Silk Mills, which had required employers to recognize their workers' union and enter into bargaining if they refused to recognize the union after a majority of workers had voted for affiliation. The article didn't draw wide notice, at least until President Biden's appointee as the NLRB's general counsel, Jennifer Abruzzo, sent out her initial memo to the 500 NLRB attorneys across the country whom she supervised. In the memo, Abruzzo laid out the kind of cases those attorneys could pursue and suggested that they consider cases based on the long-forgotten Joyce Silk standard, which she viewed as erroneously discarded with demonstrably catastrophic consequences for workers' rights to unionize and bargain. These decisions happen, and workers' rights get trampled, and nobody comes to the fight to help us. Here you have the NLRB under an appointee by Biden, a pro-worker appointee by Biden, who now pushed the NLRB to do some really important work. And it's phenomenal, and it's good, and it's something that we should all be very, very happy with, and it's something that we should be motivated to get to the polls for. And here's where I tell you that the Republicans don't care a lick for workers. When the NLRB sits with only 3 people on the board, it becomes ineffectual. It can't do any rulings. Okay? It's made up of 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans by appointment. Okay? 3 and 2. The party in power is the one that gets the 3. So right now it's 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans. But there's no Republicans because the Republicans won't put forth a nominee to fill the seat, because they know that if there's only 3 members on the board can't make any rulings. So what are the Republicans doing? They're not putting forth any nominees. And you know how else they're playing it? They're banking on Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema to derail any nominee that Biden puts forth that might be not considered a Democrat but just be an independent, so that they can get 4 on the board, so that they can move forward with rulings. The Republicans are banking on Manchin and Sinema not backing the independent that's already been approved or already been floated. So again, they like to fake like they support working folks. They like to fake like they support blue collar people, but they don't. The Republicans have proven in my lifetime to be wholly and solely for the rich. And these rulings prove to me the opposite, that Democrats are for working people. We just got to keep fighting with Democrats to make them more for working people. That's our job. Anyway, man, it's so important. It's such a good decision that I felt that we needed to talk about it more than once. I'll put this article in the description box for you so you can read it. And yeah, we got elections coming up in Virginia, man. We need to flip this state blue. You know for who? Working people like me and working people like you. Let's go. Y'all remember the fight's not left and right, it's up and down. It's going to be class solidarity to win always. Each one teach one, get out there and reach one. And there can be no union without you and I, front and center. Peace.